Horse Girl is currently out on Netflix, and it's kind of right in line with my expectations of Netflix. It looks like a low-budget sci-fi thriller, but actually underneath it's far more interesting.
Happy birthday! So what are you going to do tonight to celebrate?
I think probably I'll just go out with some friends from my Zumba class.
You deserve to have fun.
The film follows Sarah, who is an ordinary, lonely woman living somewhere in America. She works a quiet job in a craft shop, visits her horse regularly, and binge watches a supernatural procedural TV show. But at night, she's haunted by these frighteningly vivid nightmares of alien abductions, and she also sleepwalks. When she starts to experience missing time in her everyday life, it's clear that something is very wrong. Horse Girl stars Alison Brie, who's drawing on some personal experiences of mental health in her performance here. Her grandmother suffered from paranoid schizophrenia, and she has talked in interviews about how she kind of had these fears of experiencing that herself, which all plays very heavily into the film, which she also co-wrote with the director Jeff Baena. Baena's a bit of a quiet talent on the American indie circuit. He co-wrote I Heart Huckabees with David O. Russell, and his previous movies like Life After Beth and Joshi are both great fun. I actually first heard of him though for a film called The Little Hours, which I think is also available on Netflix, which is kind of this mad nuns movie with Alison Brie and Aubrey Plaza playing some kind of nasty convent worshippers alongside a collection of American comedy actors including Nick Offerman and Molly Shannon, who's also in this movie. All of his previous work then is kind of workably fun and silly, but Horse Girl marks a major development in his filmmaking, I think. The opening of Horse Girl is almost like indistinguishable from plenty of similar American comedies. It has this pastel colour palette and lots of small talk, which reminded me quite a lot of Napoleon Dynamite, for instance. And it's also shot with this cutesy 1970s throwback style. There's lots of diffusion and slow zooms. It's kind of easy to dismiss as another retro mumblecore movie like was all the rage about 5 years ago. But as the film moves forward, we're introduced to Sarah's boring life, the difficulty she has making friends, and how lonely she is, really. And then the first abduction sequence happens, and it's clear that Baena and company are on a very different trajectory to what's maybe expected of them. Those slow zooms become like a threatening device. It's like a low-budget 70s horror instead of a high-budget 70s romance. And that diffusion becomes kind of a key way of telling the audience how lucid Sarah is feeling in these moments. It's difficult to discuss the film without spoiling its interesting elements, but it isn't exactly plot heavy, I would say. It's more like a character piece that looks at Sarah's life and her mental health, and it leaves any other interpretation up to the audience, with maybe a bit of the suggestion that it doesn't matter too much. I'll come out actually and say that I just really don't care for the whole is it or isn't it real discussion and speculation around some films. All of that, does the top keep spinning? Can she really go to the underworld stuff? It's just not that interesting to me, because after all, there's nothing real in a film because it's a film, as Alejandro Jodorowsky would remind you. There's my $10 reference for the day. Even in films where these possibilities are very distinctly teased, I think more often than not, it's just lazy writing. It's letting the audience decide something that should really be part of the themes of the film. It's quite an important thing, right? Whether or not it's happening. I prefer it when it's part of a thematic device, kind of in and of itself, like in Mulholland Drive, where Lynch has no interest really in giving you clues either way, and it's actually just a conceit for him to introduce doubles and mirror images to the film. In Horse Girl, I think it's more of the latter. It's kind of a way of taking the audience into the mind of the character, but it's also handled in a clever visual way so you don't get completely lost in it. It has this clear use of contrasting colour palettes that become blurred together over time, which I think is a really nice visual device. I gotta say, of more interest to me in all of this is Alison Brie, who does a phenomenal job as the lead in this film. Like a lot of people, I know her primarily from Community, although I have also seen Glow, so it's great to see her build on the character work in Glow and perform something kind of really challenging here. And I think, like, one of the things that makes the film really work and why it's so compelling is that Brie is trading off that clean-cut, kind of cutesy image that she has to an extent. Sarah's daytime life is kind of chatting nicely with middle-aged ladies and selling arts and crafts, playing with the horse, getting clearly excited when a guy shows interest in her. And then she can be like manic and despondent, where Brie's eyes kind of glass over and she has this distant look of desperation basically on her face the whole time. It's a clever and intense performance, but it's also like a grounded performance. And she should also be applauded for her script work. The film's plot is essentially quite simple, but it's very layered in terms of how it approaches Sarah's backstory, which is important for a character study. One by one, small incidents kind of uncover the difficulties she's faced in her life, which then impacts the story in the present. Of particular note, actually, is a scene in which she visits a friend who shows kind of clear signs of brain damage, and it transpires that the girl was injured in this riding accident. And then after that, Sarah's attachment to her horse takes on this whole new dimension. It's really clever writing. Now, Horse Girl isn't perfect, and I suspect it will be a frustrating viewing experience for some. Plenty of commenters and reviewers who I've seen online have kind of been expressing dissatisfaction with the ending of the film and its is it real elements. I think the use of like genre tropes that kind of then doesn't have a clear genre payoff will annoy people more than anything else in the film. But in there is this well-observed, clever portrait of a woman struggling with reality in all sorts of ways. It's a powerful show of skill from an up-and-coming director, and it's also a great showcase for Alison Brie's evolving talent. That's it from me, but if you've seen Horse Girl, I know there's a lot to discuss in the comments below, so let's have a chat. Have a good one. Bye for now.